Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Friedman, your friendly Residents Association president. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It should be turned on. You're not hearing me at all? Apparently you have to swallow this one in order to be heard. But in any event, I'd like to welcome you to the annual meeting of the Residents Association. You may be wondering why we have the paper handouts. The Halloween gremlins entered this room earlier and basically knocked out the projector system so that we thought it would be to have everybody able to follow us. We'd have the hard copy. Basically just follow the sheets down as you go in, and people will introduce themselves as they get up and talk. First order of business on your sheet on the top page is as if you have a cell phone, please silence it so that it will not be disruptive to the meeting as it's taking place. And then again, I'd like to remind you that the exit in the back is not available. The only exit is here in the front, and the restrooms are not available here. If there's any need, you've got to go up to the front desk and use the facilities there. So with that, let me quickly move into the first order of business, which is the approval of the minutes. They've been on the web for quite a while for people to read, review, and add comments. Does anybody in the audience have any errors, corrections, deletions, additions I would like to make? If not, I'd like to ask somebody from the board to make a recommendation the minutes be accepted as submitted. Okay, Mike, you've not put it up. Second, Jeff, thank you. With that, let's have any objections. Vote yay. Please raise your hands. Any objections? That'll be easier to count. Okay, it is so suitably carried. With that, let me quickly move into the next item on the agenda, which is the Forest at Duke Executive Report. Gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our CEO, Anita Holt. Anita?
So good afternoon, everybody. I'm assuming that you can hear in the back? Okay. I do want to thank you for the opportunity to address the annual meeting of the Residents Association. And I particularly want to thank the officers and the committee chairs and board for their commitment to the community and the work in progress, as well as the works completed this past year. By way of a community update, things are kind of moving and ambling the way they should. The health center repairs, the first floor that was damaged by flood, those repairs are continuing and expected to be finished within the next 3 to 4 weeks. But what is required prior to reoccupancy is to undergo not only the city but also the County of Durham inspection, as well as a life safety code inspection prior to occupancy. And you can schedule with the best of intent, and they will deliver when they are ready. I do know that our Cubigo rollout has been going successfully. I know we are not completely done. There are different facets coming on board, but I understand that there's been plenty of opportunities to use the system, and that as we continue to more fully advance through the program, we expect it to deliver as we had planned. All key staffing positions are currently full. We will lose 2 licensed nursing positions, one due to relocation and of her family moving to another state, and another due to a family expansion, i.e. baby. We have been actively recruiting and have a good candidates in the pipeline, and we expect to be able to replace those positions. I do want to thank the residents who have supported the efforts across the state to assist those in the western part of the state. As you know, we had several CCRCs that were severely damaged, or LifePAM communities, as well as 3 smaller communities that provided assisted living. Again, we have been one of a vast network. There are 68 communities in the state, and people have contributed supplies and materials, potable, non-potable water, everything that we can. We have also taken on some responsibility for delivery of services to those communities. We have also, through the foundation, the Leading Age North Carolina Foundation, has raised in excess of $330,000, and gifts continue to come in. That is being distributed directly. So far, I believe that 26 employees who lost everything have received direct cash, as well as some employees who their houses may be habitable, but they still need things that were destroyed replaced, as well as people who just lost some things. So we have a tiered system of gift giving by the foundation. We will continue to do that, and we'll put some more information about that in the Forest Forward. We continue, well, I said 26 families have been served, an additional 30, more applications are coming in, so it's routinely. And these are folks that, betwixt and between, a lot of folks did not have home insurance. So these are the employees, and making sure, and certainly most did not have flood insurance. That's not what was expected in that arena. We expect that the need will go on as the year progresses and in different ways. A reminder, just to all of the residents here, frequently I hear the tail end of questions with answers that have been supplied, both broad and narrow, interesting and not so interesting. But what I want to ask is, if you have a question about a subject, please go to the person who's responsible for that. They can give you that answer. I've been amazed at what we've been able to invent. And sometimes it's juicy, sometimes it's fun, and sometimes it just makes you go, huh? But we want to start there and continue to do that. Also, take advantage of coffee and conversation. Different directors are doing that, also to provide information about their areas of responsibility and being wide open to questions when and as they occur. And of course, otherwise, drop a note, drop an email, etc. The opportunity is to try to answer your questions when you have them, but unbundling the answers that surround some of them when they come in between has been interesting and not necessarily helpful to you. So I want you to get the right information, get it timely. If you don't know who to ask Lee. She can tell everybody. I was going to say she can tell everybody where to go. Probably not what you want to hear, but she does know who you need to talk to. And then the last thing I'd like to share with you is the terrace's construction continues as projected. We will not be using the walkway to access the health center until the building has been cleared for occupancy. So it will not open early, even though it will be physically complete, because you cannot leave something that's complete to walk through a construction area. So we will continue to circle around until we have a certificate of occupancy and are cleared to use. We continue to see good sales. A note, 65 reserved apartments, 6 currently offered and are in the offer, and 28 people have not yet received an offer. So we're not worried about filling the building. And the Forest at Duke in general, the campus that exists and is built, is 98% occupied and reserved. So again, we're seeing good follow-through. And just to reiterate, we expect move-ins for the terraces not to begin until the third quarter of 2025, and that will continue through the fourth quarter. But keep in mind, we have 18 months to fill the building. We know we will beat that. So thank you very much.
All right, with that, what I'd like to do is move into the president. What I'd like to do now is move into the president's report. And with that, I'd like to again remind you what the purpose of the Residents Association is. Basically threefold. 1, to represent and protect the interests of the residents. 2, to assist in the development of programs and activities to support us. And 3, to serve as a liaison between the residents and the administration. When I took office a year ago, I indicated my main focus would be on communications, which is a key foundation for the RA mission. and on also increasing our perspective to anticipate issues, not merely react to them. How have we done? Well, we've had monthly meetings, with the exception of the 2 summer months, held by each committee throughout the entire year. Moreover, the highlights were extracted and posted on the website within 1 week of the board meeting at which the meetings were reviewed. And this gave you immediate access to items which were of current interest. The detailed minutes continued to be posted when they were approved and accessible. The RA website was renovated to include easier access to RA-generated information, and links were provided for quick access to other pertinent forest information. And work has been ongoing to ensure that the data posted is correct and up to date. With the lingering aspects of COVID affecting our social gatherings, I initiated Name Tag Friday in order to encourage the community and simplify the meetings of new residents. It was encouraging to see the degree of participation and suggestion and acceptance of that suggestion. The main activity, however, was a special study group initiated to define potential issues that could result from the increase in population with the completion and opening of the terraces. This soon became a joint venture between the RA board and the administrative executive team, and we held several productive joint sessions focusing on 3 key areas. 1, the assimilation of new residents. 2, the increased demand and impact on resident services. And 3, the impact on dining services. Meet and greet sessions are planned and already being held for the new terrace residents. In addition, we prepared a spreadsheet of our 2025 RA planned activities and meetings with tentative dates, numbers of attendees, escalated to incorporate in participation from the terraces, definition of space and technology requirements, and this has been delivered to community services to allow their integration into the community services planned activities and allow allocation and prioritization of the projected needs generated by the population growth. We need similar charting of our dining preferences as well. Where do we go from here? The focus for this year will continue to be on communications and strengthening the community atmosphere here at the Forest. Rapid posting of pertinent information obtained from the committee meetings will continue. We will post them quickly on the RA website after the board meeting, and alerts of their availability will be distributed through the caucuses. Work will continue on improving the user-friendly nature of the website, as well as addressing links with Cubicle. Terrace planning will continue to be a major emphasis, with individual terrace subcommittees working to clarify areas of concern as more information becomes available, as well as further joint meetings with the executive team to assure common understanding and information distribution. I'm happy to announce that new name tags have been purchased and will be printed with your given name of choice in large, easy, readable letters with your surname underneath. They will have magnetic attachments in response to the multiplicity of demands of everybody out there, but I also went ahead and purchased pins that I will personally glue onto your name tag if you're afraid of wearing it over a pacemaker like I am. Anyway, a form will be placed in your mailbox to provide that information to us, and after the tags are printed, they will be delivered to your mailbox. And I am suggesting that you wear the tags all the time while dining or attending any Forest at Duke function. And there'll also be tags for the early entry people with identification of early entry versus residents for the permanent residents. Now, if I've constantly mentioned throughout my tenure and writings and whatever, you are the association. The board is your instrument for representing and presenting a unified picture of resident issues to the administration for appropriate action. A form was placed in everybody's mailbox on October 14th, this past Monday, requesting you identify your area of interest in getting involved with the various committees. The bylaws state an appointment is generally for a 3-year term, but it is renewable. There are limits to the size of the committee, and it is determined by the chairperson, but we welcome a broad base of participation. If you haven't already done so, I urge you to fill out that form and get it to the front desk tomorrow. Contact the current directors if you have any questions or need any clarification on mission and activities for a specific option. I think it's going to be an exciting and a very challenging year. With that, I will now continue on with the rest of the agenda, and if you follow through, each person will introduce themselves as they are due for making their presentation as defined in the agenda. So I'd like to turn it over now to Tom Small, head of the Governance Committee.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tom Small, Chair of the Governance Committee. One of my duties as Chair of the Governance Committee is to nominate, subject to approval of the board, the Chair of the Nominations Committee. And this year, that chair is Sanford Berg. And I think all of the former chairs of that committee, let's see, Vic Moore, Ebby Steen, Abby Saffold, Linda McBride, Elodie Bentley, and Peter McBride would tell you that it is not an easy job. But Sanford and his committee really worked hard. They've done an outstanding job. And they've come up with a terrific slate of nominees. And so, Sanford, you can take it from here.
Thank you, Tom. I want first to thank the members of the nomination committee, and if they would, those that are here would stand up. Mary Lou Croucher, you can stand up. Brenda Featherstone, Michael Hamilton, and Walton Smith, and all attended the meetings. We processed the suggested names, made lots of contacts and calls, and I think we came up with a very fine slate. Their names are listed, but they're all here. I'll ask them to stand up then as well. The nominees, Donald Chan for secretary, Andre Allen back here, Joel Huber, Ellen Barrett, and Dan Blazer, the last three as directors of committees. There being no further nominations, I would move that the slate be elected by acclamation. A second. All in favor, say aye. I don't hear any opposed, so thank you all very much. I appreciate the hard work of our new members.
I'm Ken Barrett, and this is the Treasurer's Report for this fiscal year through September 30th last month. The association at the beginning of the fiscal year had $10,592.17 in the bank. That included $211.95 from the Pollinator Garden Fund, which was expended during the year. We had revenues during this year of $8,635, and that was from dues and from the pictorial directory sales. We had expenses of $7,102 and and that was from printing of the Forester, from administration, from printing the pictorial directory, and from information technology, which is really the website. That leaves us a balance as of September 30th of $11,912.34. I'd like to alert you to 3 events that will be occurring during the first quarter of next fiscal year. Number 1 is the Employee Appreciation Fund. Notices will be sent out to each of you in early November. The deadline for contributions will be December the 6th of 2024, and we expect the payments to the employees, their awards from the Employee Appreciation Fund, to be distributed on December 13th of this year, right before Christmas. Also during this time, we'll be taking orders for the pictorial directory. You'll be notified in November for if you want pictures taken or retaken for the pictures that are already in the pictorial directory. You might can get them updated if you so desire. And you will also be given an opportunity to order the number of copies of the pictorial directory that you wish to have delivered to you in January. The final thing is the RA dues. This year will be a little bit different. Every resident will be billed $10 per year for the RA dues by the forest. If you want to make other arrangements for payment other than being billed through the your monthly service fee, you will have to contact the treasurer and work out other arrangements. That concludes the treasurer's report, and now we'll proceed going through each of the standing committees and their reports.
A always gets to go first. Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Gillis, Chair of the Activities Committee. The main purpose of the Activities Committee is to work with the staff of Community Life at the Forest at Duke to help plan monthly activities which are varied and interesting for us. The Activities Committee has 5 subcommittees which are currently presenting their fall 2024 programs, as well as planning for 2025. The Life at the Forest series is designed to introduce new residents to the forest fundamentals. The fall series began on October 16 and will continue through December the 4th. The next series will be in the spring 2025. Forest Readers meets weekly. The readers are residents who volunteer to share selections from favorite articles, books, and their own original writings. The book discussion group members meet monthly to exchange views on the books they have selected. In June, they vote on the books that they will read. The Celebrations Committee plans events of all sorts throughout the year. They observe everything from the happy to the serious. Mix and Mingle are great places to meet people you haven't yet gotten to know and see people you haven't seen in a while. Mix and Mingle will become active again after the first of the year. In the past quarter, Activities Committee members worked closely with staff on new features and programs. The committee provided feedback to Community Life Director Sarah Haney on the application for the new resident portal website, Cubigo. They were also involved in the early resident training for Cubigo. The Senior Game Day in August was a result of a combination of efforts, beginning with an idea presented by 2 residents. Community Life provided the setup and ordered items for the events, with the Activities Committee providing most of the volunteer help that day. It was fun for everyone. We said farewell to Melissa Cusick and welcomed Pam Taylor as our new Community Wellness Manager. The Activities Committee will continue programs that have proven to be popular and will introduce a variety of informative and stimulating programs that will enrich life at the forest. The Activities Committee thanks Community Life for their help and support in making the Forest at Duke a great place to live. And last but not least, I want to thank all the members of the Activities Committee for their interest, input, and ideas. Thank you.
I'm Dave Sloan, Chair of the Caucus Committee. Each of you is a member of a caucus. The caucus leaders meet monthly to get updates from the TFAD administration, to get reports in various areas of interest, and to share what each caucus has been up to. Since the last quarterly RA members meeting, we've met twice. In September, Nathan Summers discussed the breadth of operations in community services and provided insights into what goes on behind the scenes in keeping TFAD running smoothly. Sharon Pitt, the COO, filled us in on the water pipe break in the health center, and each caucus reported on their activities. In October, Elizabeth Gillis's RA Activities Committee gave us rundowns in some detail of what each of the 5 subcommittees do. Sharon Pitt then gave us the hottest information from the administration, and the caucuses gave their reports. Going forward in 2025, we have a couple of different challenges. There are 2 caucuses that don't have leaders right now. One of them is number E4, which is apartments 4040 to 4051. We'd like to be able to fill that so they have somebody representing them at the caucus leaders meeting. Also, the health center is losing their leader, so we'd like to get somebody to do that. The other thing is, as the terraces populate during the second half of 2025, we need to establish caucuses. We're planning on 4, get leaders for each, and then facilitate integration of the new residents into TFAD life. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Collins, Chair of the Dining Services Committee. The mission of the Dining Services Committee is to function as a liaison between the residents and TFAD's administration. The purpose of the Dining Services Committee is to function as a liaison between the residents and the administration at the forest to ensure the best possible dining experience for residents. That includes quality of the food, the diversity of the meal offerings, and the ambiance of the dining venues. Just want to share with you some highlights from the most recent meeting of the Dining Services Committee, meeting that took place on October 9th. Some residents have expressed concerns about the forest's ability to serve the current and new residents at meal times once the terraces are fully occupied. This is an issue that's discussed essentially at every monthly meeting of the Dining Services Committee. Nathan Summers has expressed complete confidence that this will not be a problem. This has been baked into the planning that the administration has done for the terraces. In any event, there's been ongoing discussions between TFAD's administration and spearheaded on the resident side by a subcommittee of the Dining Services Committee comprised of myself, Sharon Parker, and Dave Sloan, and these discussions will be continuing. Secondly, Greenwoods will not reopen until early 2025, although no decisions have been made at this time as to how it will operate, i.e. The hours of operation, what the menu will look like, etc. Thirdly, the forest has made the decision that LifeVac anti-choking devices will be distributed to various dining venues, and a range of dining services staff will be trained in their use. And I think very important, they've also agreed that any residents who are interested in being trained to use the LiveVac device, and this is to deal with a choking situation when somebody is aspirating food and so forth. Residents can also be trained on this if you have an interest in so doing. At the meeting, appreciation was expressed to two members who are rotating off the committee, have completed their service, Mary Ann Roig and Forrest Dixon, and appreciation was expressed for their service. And lastly, appreciation was also expressed to sous chef Carl Ladd, dining room manager Jeffrey Turian, and all of the dining services staff for the superb Rosh Hashanah dinner that was served to over 80 residents in the auditorium on October 8th. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Forrest Dixon, and since March, I have had the privilege to serve as the chair of the Residents Association Finance Committee. During my tenure, the Finance Committee has had an opportunity to be presented a review of the details of the criteria for the occupancy of the 4 Medicare beds in the health center. A copy of the presentation Karen Henry delivered on that topic is included in the Finance Committee's notebook in the communications room for your review. The committee reviewed the actuarial funded status of the Forest at Duke. An actuarial study reviews certain benchmark items such as percent occupancy, days of cash on hand, turnover of vacated units, and other criteria. The review of those benchmark items, when compared with CCRC standards, will provide a sense of whether the community has the reserves, income, and cash flow to meet its promise of housing and health care to you for the rest of your life. I am pleased to report that, in my opinion, that the Forest at Duke has the necessary resources to meet its contractual obligations to its residents, and we are on sound financial footing, and barring unforeseen economic events, we should remain so well into the future. At the committee's August meeting, prior to the release of the new fiscal year budget to the community, Anita Holt and Karen Henry provided the committee with a very detailed PowerPoint presentation of the new budget, and in many cases a line-by-line review of increase or decrease in operating cost of some of the departments. The presentation was complete with justification for the reasons that the Forest at Duke's board approved the 4.5% in our monthly service fee. A complete copy of that PowerPoint presentation is also available in the committee's notebook in the communications room for your review. And more recently, the committee welcomed Larry Williams, Director of Human Resources, for an informative presentation on the benefit package offered to the Forest at Duke team members. Other discussion items were employee turnover trends, participation in the health insurance plan, and the 403B savings plan. All of these items contribute to employee retention and the continuation of services at our expected level. Significant improvements in reduced employee turnover have been noted, especially in dining and health care staff. Thank you.
Beth Timpson, General Services Committee. The members of the General Services Committee are your representatives for buildings, grounds, housekeeping, security, and transportation concerns, both specific issues and for policies and programs that affect those things. We've also had a couple members on the team working with the transition to the terraces, specifically focusing on meeting spaces, physical spaces and the new landscaping around both the health center and the terraces. So we're keeping an eye on things there too. Our meetings are usually an interesting mix because this is the place where we live, so we all have very specific concerns, and they come through our committee to be forwarded to the staff, whether you have a dead bush outside your particular apartment or cottage, whether you've got trees dying over on the road near you, whether there's a drainage issue. They come to us and we funnel them through to the staff who package them together and generally do a one-time work project on them. Sometimes there are things that the staff don't know about because they don't go everywhere. We had an interesting one recently where somebody found some old machinery in the woods behind his cottage that was holding water and had become a mosquito breeding ground, which nobody really knew about until we were able to get rid of it. So we also work on responding to the staff, and they respond to us when there are longer-term projects going on. We work very well with the staff, particularly with Nathan and his crew, on things like when paving is happening, how is that going to impact the people who live near there? Is that going to block up any of the cul-de-sacs? What about driveways that are going to be a problem? What about private landscapers with the hired landscapers? How do they conflict? How can we work that out? Upgrades to the security system, how is that going to impact differently, say, from the cottages to the residents, the apartment residences? So we have a lot of give and take with them, and they're very responsive to resident concerns when we bring those to them. We also have really dedicated volunteers that work through our committee on the pollinator garden, the rose garden, and the community farm garden plots, as well as the wood shop and the greenhouse. So we do a lot of things that keep our campus physically the way we like it to be, since this is, as I said, the place where we live.
Good evening. I'm Judy Vick, Chair of the Health Committee. Our mission is to provide liaison between the residents and the Forest at Duke staff and its health care delivery service. This is done through identifying, discussing, and evaluating health care expectations and issues of concern to the residents. The census in the health center when we met was 66, I understand, which is the highest I think that we've had since we moved to the new health center. But I understand yesterday it was 63 because 3 residents had been discharged back to independent living. We have a new assistant director of nursing, Alicia Yarborough, who has been on the staff and was promoted to this position. As we look ahead to some of our goals and challenges, the Health Committee is continuing to discuss and find ways that we can work with administration to improve the health care given to our residents, both in our clinic and in the health center. Over the past 2 years, we have and will continue to encourage our independent residents to maintain contact with their friends and neighbors in the health center through visits, phone calls, notes, in any way that you can. The Staying Connected notebook and website keep us informed, and I hope that you use them frequently. Another initiative, Staying Informed, keeps us connected with health center residents and gives them an opportunity to let us know if of their concerns and what is going well for them there. These have been and will continue to be shared with the administration. 5 members of the committee have volunteered to work with Leanne Bailey Clayton in a pilot program that she is developing, pairing them with staff members to build a relationship between residents and caregivers, and the health center caregivers. And 2 new discussions we have begun are provisions for adjoining rooms for couples in the health center and a proposed program sharing peer experiences. Both are explained in detail in our October minutes. So I encourage you to go to them either in the connections room or on the website. And I would like to say thank you for allowing me to serve for for 6 years on the Health Committee, and the last 2 as the chair. It's been a pleasure, and I just thank you.
Good evening. I am not Erwin Abrams. He's on vacation, so he asked me to read his report. The Information Technology Committee, the purpose is to maintain close liaison with the Forest at Duke's Information Technology Department to develop programs, activities, and services to assure high quality. The committee participated in the pilot phase of Cubigo and sent a number of comments to Sarah Henry after issues were found. The suggestion that an RA site link be located on Cubigo has been implemented, so if you want to get to the RA website, you can go through Cubigo. 2 members of the committee visited Carroll Woods to discuss their website and pick up ideas for the redesign of the RA website. In addition, a member of the committee visited a CCRC in San Diego and got useful ideas from their site as well. An informal subcommittee is engaged in redesigning the RA site, and once the entire committee approves, we will request a quote from the hosting company to implement the new design. The suggestion was presented that a small group of IT-experienced residents knowledgeable on various devices could provide problem solving to other residents. The group would be known as the Tech Helpers, and there are 2 volunteers familiar with Apple equipment to start. The exact procedures are being worked out, and the fact that it is a revival of an effort in the past will be extremely helpful.
Good evening. I'm Judith Ruderman, Chair of the Marketing Committee. The purpose of the Marketing Committee is to support the sales and marketing staff by providing feedback and new ideas and by engaging with the activities of that department in order to help recruit prospective residents to the forest. Now, the numbers that I'm going to give you now are up to date as of today, but as Judy Vick said about the health center numbers, they're always in flux as people's circumstances change and as new people come in. But right as of now, with the occupancy report of the 233 residences in independent living, 232 are occupied or reserved. 1 apartment, the Ash model, which is the smallest apartment, is being marketed. 2 additional apartments are offline for other uses, the salon and the showroom, respectively. Just to remind you or inform you if you're new, reserved means that qualification is pending, and occupied means that the monthly fee is being paid, regardless of whether the people have actually moved in. Residents pay monthly starting at the date of their contract, but their physical occupancy might be delayed for 1 or more reasons. Early acceptance program. I know you're tired of hearing me say these things. I describe these things every single meeting, but some of you are new, and so it's good information. EAP members are off-campus residents of the forest. They are residents, the majority of whom are already engaged in forest activities and or fully intend to move here eventually. Several from this cohort have joined us already. Requirements for acceptance into the program are living no more than 20 miles from the forest, staying on the wait list, and being in the age group 65 to 80, and paying the requisite fees. The cap on enrollment has been raised from 50 to 65 because 15 EAP residents will be moving into the terrace apartments in 2025. Currently, we have 51 in this cohort and 2 in application. The remaining slots are being marketed. The names and contact information of EAP residents, if they gave permission, are found starting on page 83 of your 2024 Pocket Directory. And they are also in the resident directory on Cubigo, although intermingled alphabetically there with the others. A few folks with photos are included at the end of the 2024 pictorial directory. Do check them out. You've no doubt already met several from this group in one or another forest event and may not even have known that they live off campus. Charter members and the terrace apartments. some who are in the early acceptance program and others who are on the wait list, and still others who are in neither category, have accepted the offer to become charter members of the 71 terrace apartments. Currently, 4 remaining apartments are being offered to the 26 charter members who have yet to receive an offer. The number of reservations varies as depositors drop out along the way for a variety of reasons, including the opportunity to move on campus sooner into a residence that becomes available. Such attrition was expected and planned for. We will continue to accept additional charter members and to market the terraces throughout construction. Then the charter membership category goes away. A major discussion point across the administration and the resident association committees, in addition to space utilization, and you've already heard this tonight and in previous meetings, is how to welcome the terrace residents before they actually move in, as well as after, how to mentor them, acclimate them, integrate them. To that end, sales and marketing has held small group dinners of terrace depositors with a few current residents at the tables. In addition, some members of the marketing committee have attended the group campus tours and are now giving one-on-one tours for terrace depositors and others who may request them. In these ways, especially those dinners and things like that, future residents are getting acquainted with each other long before they move in and meeting residents who already live here. As a bonus, some of you are acquainted or friends with members of this terraces cohort and have already been mentoring and welcoming them in your own ways. Indeed, every time one of you talks to any friend about your satisfaction with life at the Forest, you are serving as a de facto marketer. So thank you for that. Those are the bare bones data of note. For further information on our committee discussions, you'll find detailed minutes in the appropriate binder in the Connections Room, as well as online on the Residents Association website, whose link is found in the blue information tab on Cubigo. Cubigo is very user-friendly. I hope you've started to see that yourselves. My term as chair of this committee is ending with this very meeting, and leadership is now in the capable hands of Ellen Barrett. So thank you for your interest and attention over these 3 years of my reporting to you, and thank you for being my neighbors.
I know it's getting late. I'll try to be very brief. Can you hear me? Okay, good. For those of you who've only recently moved to the Forest, I should first of all tell you what the strange acronym NORCRA stands for. It is the North Carolina Continuing Care Residents Association. NORCRA began in the late 1980s when residents of the very few CCRCs that existed at that time in the state were concerned that their residents had no legal protection after having bought in to a community, and so they lobbied for it. And in 1980, a statute was passed which put CCRCs under the umbrella of the Department of Insurance in North Carolina. Over the past 45 years, a lot has changed. For example, there are now 5,000 members of NORCRA. And they come from 45 CCRCs across the state. During these years, however, the mission of NORCRA has remained the same, and that is to advocate for regulations that protect the well-being of residents and to share best practices that help people who live in many different communities know what has worked well for them and what has kept them happy and safe wherever they live. Another constant during those years has been the cooperation of NORCRA with another organization called Leading Age, which is the organization of CCRC administrators, of which Anita is an active member. NORCRA holds one statewide meeting annually, as well as regional meetings. This month, the annual meeting was held in Greensboro at Wellspring, and 5 of us from the Forest attended that meeting. There were in attendance there 170 people from 24 CCRCs. Impressive, there were 3 people from CCRCs in Western North Carolina who were able, from where they lived, to be able to get to Greensboro. There were 2 major items on the business agenda of the meeting. One, an announcement that NORCRA had already forwarded $5,000 from its budget to Leading Age Fund for the relief of people in Western North Carolina. I have just learned today that the executive committee has added another $10,000 to that fund. And as Anita said, or I think it was Anita, someone said, a large part of that will really go to the staff members in those CCRCs, many of whom have lost homes, have had family members to die, who have no way to get to work, and so are having to camp out close to the CCRCs where they work. The second agenda item for the business agenda was a discussion of the proposed amendment to the 1980 statute that was passed. That's been under consideration for some time now, and you've heard about it before. It was passed by the North Carolina Senate last year, but sent to the House Rules Committee, and that's where it sits right now, in the House Rules Committee. We had hoped there might be action taken at the short session this year, but knowing how many bills are there, including now a lot of different ones because of what's happened in Western North Carolina, it's likely that that statute amendment will not be considered until the General Assembly meets next year. The program following the business meeting was literally a program. It was led by a panel of 3 persons: the CEO of Leading Age, Tom Akins, the staff member from the Department of Insurance, who is the one overseeing CCRCs, and the Resident Association president from Aldersgate, a CCRC in Charlotte. Their focus was the financial crisis at Aldersgate, with an attempt to help all of us understand what may have happened there. As some of you may have read, the crisis was basically caused by actions of the CEO there, who, with the board's consent, had created several auxiliary entities that drew funds from the CCRC to operate, with the prospect that those separate entities would return a lot of money to the CCRC. That didn't happen, and eventually some residents became concerned about the financial statements and called directly to the Department of Insurance to speak to someone there. This led the Department of Insurance to assume management of Aldersgate, with the dissolution of the board there and the termination of the CEO and the CFO. Obviously, the public reports about this, which went all the way to the Wall Street Journal, some of you may have seen it there, have created a really difficult situation, a marketing difficult situation at Aldersgate, a community that's existed now for many years, and obviously a reduction in the number of its residents as they have a hard time marketing for new people to come in. Slowly, however, they are beginning to recover, and there were some people, residents from Aldersgate, present at the meeting who felt that they were beginning to take some steps back to some stability as a community. Seems to me that there are 2 important takeaways from what happened there, and one that is that CCR residents across the whole state of North Carolina are really fortunate that we have the protection of the Department of Insurance and that it's available when it's needed. And the second thing is that Leading Age thinks, as a result of this, it will probably ask the Department of Insurance to add to the statute that controls CCRCs a requirement that all CCRCs solicit open proposals from auditing firms on a regular basis, rather than always having the same auditing firm enter forever and forever. Finally, you should find in your mailbox, if you haven't found it already, a registration form for joining NORCRA, and I hope you'll fill it out and put it in the wire basket on the receptionist's desk before November the 12th. It's a quick and easy way to become a member of NORCRA, and we really thank the Forest for making this easy, quick way available to us.
I really couldn't bring the meeting to a conclusion until I recognized the efforts of Judy Vick and Judith Ruderman on the Health Committee and Marketing Committees. They've done superb work, and I hate to see them go, but they've put in a lot of time and a lot of effort that's gone well beyond, just my year here with them. And if anybody went to early vote at the Duke Center, you would have had Judith there pointing you out where to go to vote and what right levers to fill out. So I think they deserve a personal recognition for that. And in addition, I'd like to personally thank Forrest Dixon for stepping in and helping me out when I suddenly found a leadership position in finance and keeping it going. I'm sorry that he's not carrying on, but we have more than an able person taking over for him. But again, thank you very much, Forrest, and again, recognition to you. And I can't forget Don Chan, who stepped in and took over carrying the minutes and secretarial duties, and it's just astounding that he even agreed to take it on for a full term rather than just filling in for the partial term of this one. So Don, thank you much. And I look forward to all the new directors who are coming on and working with you. Everybody's pointing at Ken Barrett. He's not going to go away. He's just not going to be ever at the podium anymore. Ken helped orchestrate this meeting with he had the charts all set up for the projector. The projector broke down. He went in and put it on hard copy. And whenever you need anything done, you sort of mention it to Ken, and right around the corner, he gets it done, and you come back and do it. And it just grows on you. You don't even realize he's involved in it, and you know he's not going to disappear. He'll be around. But Ken, thank you very much for all your services and activities, too. That's all I have here on my notes. I do want to mention one thing, that with the future 2025 board members, stay after the meeting for a quick photo for the pictorial directory. And with that, we have a time for a few questions, if there are any that are left unanswered from the presentations. If not, I move that the meeting be adjourned. All those in agreement? So be it. See you in a few months.